Alright, so I'm going to put it on Invulnerable Elite and then just show you guys the numbers. That way you don't get confused. Alright, so I'll do, Invulnerable Elite. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so let's start off just normal. I'll switch to my rifle and do one shot. Well, 1.4 mil. There it is. 2 mil. 2 mil and what? 15,000. Not bad. So then what I do, I'll wait for my versatile to go up, and then I will switch to my LMG. There it goes. Alright. So I got 2 mil off of the rifle, and I'm pretty sure I can get over 1 million ticks off of my pestilence. So let's see what happens here. There's a few 800,000, few 800,000. No, I'm not full ticks. Okay, hold up. And yeah, there we go. That's full ticks. There it is. 1 million tick. 1,015,000, 1,015,000, 1,015,000. Yeah, look at that. Not bad. Not bad at all. So I get over 1 million ticks off of my pestilence, and I get over 2 million per shot on my rifle. Not too shabby. But alright, now that I showed you guys all that, let's get into the build video. Yup! What's going on YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 build video. Now, shout out to the DoD Disciples of Doom. We all know that the raid is coming out tomorrow, Operation Iron Horse, and this is going to be actually one of the builds I'm going to try to run the raid with. I've got actually 3 or 4 different builds I'm going to test out because no one really knows what to expect for the most part. And yeah, this is going to be the first of many I'm going to show you guys. Now with Walker, Harris, and Co, there are a few different ways to spec into it. You could either do straight damage and crit, or you could go for straight damage with damage to armor and damage to health. I am choosing the latter of the two, and yeah, let's get into it. This shows over 2 million per shot on my rifle, and my pestilence over 1 million per of the Plague of Outcasts. I already showed you guys that in the video, and yeah, let's just break down the build. So starting off with I am using Militionist Specialization, mainly for giving everyone in my team damage to targets out of cover. I also get the crit chance attachment to my underbarrel, and like the grenade in PvE and Conflict, it's pretty much a one-hit quitter. So that is your demolition. Now just for this of the build, I'm using the Baker Pestilence. You'd go all crit. Recommend using the Virginian with Perfect Boomerang. Use with crit, gets you some ins, and that'll be another future. A lot of people in the 1886. The /M1A hits like a MF and Mac truck, especially with this build. Now I'm using the Pestilence. Reason being is in PvE, you get a lot of crowd control using the Pestilence, whether it be heroics, legendaries, whatever. If you're not using your rifle behind that shield, you could sit in cover, hit them with this Pestilence, and have them just basically bleed out with those ticks from the Plague of the Outcast. And then for my sidearm, I use the double barrel sawed-off, basically just for close encounters. If I get caught with a rusher flanking me or what have you, I can switch to that real quick and just pop, and hopefully they're dead. But alright, let's get into more detail with these weapons. So right off the primary is the dozen, 503k total damage. That is with 15% rifle damage, 15% crit damage, and 10% damage to targets out of cover. Now what's cool about this is it comes with a lucky shot. So if I'm sitting in cover, my magazine size is increased by 30%. However, if I'm in cover and I miss a shot, it has a 100% chance to return to my magazine. So say they destroy my build, I cover real quick and I just spam there's dozen, I can actually get all those bullets back, miss, which is a great thing to have. It's a good weapon overall. If you could find a god rolled M1A with, say Ranger, Optimist, Strained, what have you, there would be some really good contenders. However, Baker's Dozen is just too good to put down, I must admit. even with the lucky shot, I can still sit in cover and spam it and not have to worry about my ammo. Also, I switched to my Pestilence, but for the Baker's Dozen, I am running all crit for the attachments. So I am running the Optic Rugged Mini Reflex, that's 5% crit chance. And then, like I said earlier, the Demolitionist Laser Pointer gives me 7% crit chance. And then I'm running that tightly packed magazine, bumping up my magazine size up to that 19 rounds. Now, just to show you the numbers really quick on the Baker's Dozen, I have 55% crit chance, 70.2% crit damage, and 70 headshot damage. That is with 13% armor damage and 15% health damage. So it doesn't matter if I'm shooting reds, purples, yellows, named bosses, it really doesn't matter. I'm still doing a lot of damage. Now looking at the Pestilence, this one is at 114.7k total damage. That's with 14% LMG damage, 11% damage to targets out of cover, and 6% damage to armor. So if I switch over to the stats to show you the Pestilence, here we go. So the Pestilence is at 43% crit chance, 53.2% crit damage, 75% headshot damage with 19% armor damage and 15% health damage. So both of these weapons are hitting really, really hard. Now for the sidearm, I'm just using the double barrel sawed-off. I haven't even rolled anything on this, just because it does its work. I mean, I can make it hit a little bit harder, but there's really no need if I'm really in that much of a jam. Hitting them twice with this and then switching back to my Pestilence will normally mow down anything in front of me. Now this one has 1.5 million total damage. That's with 15% shotgun damage, 7% damage to armor, and 9% damage to targets out of cover. It comes with Pummel, so 3 consecutive kills, refills my magazine, and grants me 40% weapon damage for 10 seconds. Those are my weapons. Now, like I said earlier, this is spec'd into damage to armor and damage to health with damage to targets out of cover. Now, how I did that is I'm running the Holloman, that gives me health damage. I'm running the Contractor Gloves, that give me armor damage. And I'm running the Fox's Prayer Kneepads, that gives me damage to targets out of cover. So the other variant would be keep the Walker Harris pieces and then go with, you know, like a Suska, Grupo Sombra, you know, something along that lines, make it a crit build, and then you could switch the Baker's Dozen over for the Virginian or the 1886. Use that boomerang to your advantage and you could hit some pretty high numbers that way as well. But for this one, yeah, I'm spec'd into damage to health and damage to armor. This thing really hits hard. I will try out and I will make a video testing this versus like a Providence build versus like a, you know, like a crit build overall, and we'll see how the numbers compare. But this one is doing work in heroics and legendaries, I promise you. All right, so for the build itself, I'm using 3 Walker Harris & Co. with 1 Fox's Prayer Kneepads, Contractor Gloves, and Holloman Mask. Now, starting with the Holloman Mask. Holloman Mask is a mask you can only get in the DZ. You might be able to get it in Conflict from a Conflict cache, but I personally have never seen that. If you have, let me know in the comment section below, but I'm sure it's a DZ only drop. Now, what makes the Holloman so special is it comes with that 10% health damage. Now, mine, I rolled a 15% weapon damage. It came with that 10% health damage and also 9.6% crit damage. It has a red mod slot, so I threw on there 5.3% crit chance. And then with the All Gear brand set bonus, I get 10% hazard protection. So this is on crit with health damage and weapon damage. It's a pretty brutal. Now going to the backpack, Walker Harris & Co. Now the Walker Harris & Co. brand set was just introduced in TU10, and the brand set bonuses are weapon damage at 5%, damage to armor at 5%, and damage to health at 5%. Now remember, the damage to armor and the damage to health are both multiplicative, and that's how I'm getting such high numbers on the enemies and at the range. Now this one, I rolled 15% weapon damage. It came with 4.2% crit chance and health at 15,588. Also has a red mod slot, so I throw on there more crit chance at 5.4%. Now, if I could change anything, I'd get rid of that health for either headshot damage or crit damage. Now, this backpack came with Versatile. I'm using Versatile a lot with this build because it amplifies your total weapon damage for 10 seconds while swapping between your primary and secondary if they are different. Now for me, I'm using a rifle and an LMG, so we'll stick with those two. So at the middle part of the little talent, you'll see 35% to enemies further than 25 meters for rifles and marksman rifles. So that's how I'm getting those high numbers with my rifle. And then it says 10% to enemies between 15 and 25 meters with an LMG or AR. So I'm utilizing the 35% for my rifle and the 10% for my pestilence. Now remember, you can only do this once per 5 seconds. So, make sure that you are looking at that indicator so that when the versatile is over, you can switch back to your other weapon and start all over again. Now the next one is the gloves. These are the contractor gloves, named Petrov gloves with damage to armor. Now Petrov brand set bonus gives me 10% LMG damage. I rolled on there 15% weapon damage. It came with 8% damage to armor and 2.9% crit chance. Pretty damn good gloves. Now going down to the knee pads, these are the Fox's Prayer named Overlord Armament knee pads. Overlord Armament brand bonus gives me 10% rifle damage. I rolled on there 15%. It came with 8% damage to targets out of cover, and also 8.2% crit damage. Holster. This is your Walker, Harris & Co. holster. It came with 15% weapon damage, 10% headshot damage, and then I rolled on there 6% crit chance. So pretty much a god rolled holster. And then finally, Walker, Harris & Co. chest piece. This one came with glass cannon, so all my damage I deal is amplified by 25%, 50%. So that's why I use that Crusader shield, and I'll sit in cover. Either way, try to stay out of there and put as much damage downrange as possible. Now this one again came with 15% weapon damage, 10.4% crit damage. I rolled on there 6% crit chance. And then that red mod slot, I threw more crit chance on there at 5.2%. And those are your gear pieces for the build. So glass cannon, versatile, with Holloman Mask, contractor gloves, and Fox's Prayer knee pads. Now for the skills. I am using this on heroics, legendaries, and I will be using this on the raid tomorrow. So with that being said, I'm using the Crusader shield. It's a tier 0, but it has 1.45 million health. So that really does help, increase my sustainability, and it also helps me not get damaged while using glass cannon so that I can put all that damage downrange. Now the other skill I am using is the Reviver Hive, meaning pick up teammates fairly quick, and I can also pick myself up so they don't have to worry about picking me up if I were to go. Now running glass cannon, you are more susceptible to getting a lot of damage and going down quicker. So having, Crusader shield and a Reviver Hive will definitely help you increase sustainability while also dealing all that damage. And that is the build. Let's finish off with the stat sheet. Alright, so with this I am using Perfect Lucky Shot from my Baker's Dozen, Plague of the Outcast from the Pestilence, and Pummel on my double barrel sawed-off. I am running the Demolitionist, so I do have that grenade launcher. Now, On my Baker's Dozen, I have 503,333 weapon for the Pestilence, 114,709 damage. Now going back to the Baker's Dozen, I have 55% crit chance, 70.2 crit damage, and 70 headshot damage. That's with 13% armor damage and 15% health damage. The problem I have with the stat sheet is I don't get to see how much damage to targets at a cover I have, so that's kind of a problem for me, because I have that on my weapon, I have that on my Kneepads, and yeah, it just doesn't really show you. I wish it did. Alright, jumping down to the offensive tab, I have 105 all weapon damage bonus with 40% rifle damage bonus. So I have 145 damage bonus when I'm using my Baker's Dozen. I have 25% LMG damage bonus, so that bumps me up to 130% damage bonus when I'm using my Pestilence. Now going down to the defensive tab, I have 719,415 armor with just under 300k health and 19% hazard. That's mainly from my watch. Going down to my skills, again, I'm using the ballistic shield, the Crusader, with 8.8 skill haste, which is from my watch, and same with my Reviver Hive, 8.8 skill haste. Now, if you guys have played with me in the last week or two during the Season 2 farm, this is the build I've been using. Pretty crazy. Reason being is I get the damage to armor, I get the damage to health, I have glass cannon and versatile. It does a lot of damage, and I can sit back, shield, help revive people, and yeah, just help mow down the enemies. My favorite part is seeing those 1 million plus ticks, since it's pretty badass. And then also seeing over 2 million shot with my rifle is also a lot of fun. Well, the only change about this build at all would probably get rid of that backpack for either crit damage or headshot damage, but that's about it. I mean, this build is pretty much legit. I have a lot of fun with this build. You could use vigilance. However, if you get hit with vigilance, you lose that damage. So with versatile, at least I don't lose any damage. I just have to wait the 5 seconds next, you know, back and forth and get all my damage bonus on top of the glass cannon. But yeah, so this is a DAS build. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I am Kamikazevondoom. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. If you guys are ready for Operation Iron Horse tomorrow, because I sure am. Shout out to the DoD Disciples of Doom, and I will see you guys in the next